All right, let's break this down. Recently, President Trump renewed his push for stricter election security. He's even promising an executive order that would mandate voter ID laws across the country. This announcement comes right after a big setback in court. An appeals court struck down part of his tariff policies. Now, how did Trump respond? On social media, he argued that without tariffs, the U.S. economy and even military strength would be destroyed. He also criticized the judges, saying most were Democrats, but thanked one Obama-appointed judge who sided with him. His trade advisor, Peter Navarro, called the ruling partisan injustice, accusing blue states and importers of defending what he described as cheap Chinese goods. So what's next? The case is expected to head to the Supreme Court. The key question is whether Trump actually has the legal authority to use the 1977 Emergency Economic Powers Act to impose tariffs. The appeals court said no, because that law doesn't even mention tariffs. But Trump's team insists that massive trade deficits do amount to a national emergency, giving him the right to act. Treasury officials backed him up, pointing out that if tariffs were really just hurting American consumers, then why are Chinese and European companies complaining about them? Now, the Congressional Budget Office estimates tariffs could bring in up to $4 trillion over the next decade. Critics argue that U.S. consumers will still end up footing the bill in the form of higher prices. What about the markets? Some analysts believe the Supreme Court may side with Trump, given the broader powers usually granted to the presidency. But even if they don't, markets aren't expected to collapse. There could be short-term volatility, but most of Trump's trade deals and tariffs on industries like steel, aluminum, and autos would remain in place, still giving him leverage in negotiations. And how does this tie into the overall economy? According to CEOs and investors, the U.S. economy is still strong and resilient. GDP growth has bounced back, consumer spending remains solid, and deregulation plus investment incentives are creating momentum. There may be bumps along the way, but the long-term outlook, they argue, is positive. So, to sum it all up, Trump is doubling down on election security with voter ID laws. He's also fighting to preserve his tariff policies, which are now headed for a likely Supreme Court battle. Supporters see tariffs as a tool to protect U.S. industry and bring in revenue, while critics warn they'll ultimately raise prices for Americans. And despite political fights, many business leaders still believe the U.S. economy has strong fundamentals.